Hey, shalom y'all, it's Fletch. Welcome back to OTH. Thanks for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. Here in a second, I'm gonna turn the camera around and show you what we've been working on. But doing homesteading is hard work, and as the old saying goes, there's a lot of things that money can fix, other than the skills that you do or don't possess, right? So, if you're blessed of the Father and you're able to hire someone to do all of your grunt work, right? Yeah, that's one thing. But if you're like the rest of us and you got to do it yourself, right? Well, sometimes you just got to get after it. So here we are. We've been working on getting ready to upgrade the fence, but since the property was in a state of deferred maintenance, shall we say, we've had to come through and cut out all of these saplings here and all of the briar patch and blackberry brambles and all of that going all the way along this line, and all the way over to in there somewhere. I got on the inside, and then we're going to come back through like on this fence here, and we're going to add 3 lines so that we can have sheep in here. So one on the bottom, one there, and then one there, more than likely. And that'll be good enough to keep the sheep in, and then obviously tighten it all up so it's good and taut. Right now it's slouching in places. There's Montana, and yeah, Montana's my work companion. She's always out here with me, looking after me. So yeah, we're just getting her done. And this is what your hands look like when you're putting your hand to the plow. All of the the locusts, honey locusts, and sticker brambles and whatnot. And yes, for all you people that are gonna make the comment, oh dude, why don't you wear gloves? I do. The problem is that here in the Ozarks, during the summer months especially, even in early fall, it's still really hot and humid, and you just sweat through everything, and so your gloves just completely sweat through. And so let's talk about a few things, the gear that you're going to want to have if you're looking to do homesteading like we are. We're putting our hand to the plow and we're doing it ourselves. So here's one of those items right here, a quad or a 4-wheeler, or whatever they call them where you live. We were able to pick this up fairly inexpensively. It's a 2000, and it's already nice subdued colors, so it blends in well to its environment, which is a good thing. And it's set up for 2 uprighting with and that's also a storage chest, so we can keep stuff in there. And then there's also some foot pegs here so that the passenger can have a place to put his feet, which is very important when you're going down steep inclines. They really need something to keep from sliding down into the driver. All right, to finish up the thought on why a quad is good for homesteading is, as you can see, I got this rack on the front, and so just like you saw yesterday, I had a chainsaw, loppers, and a reciprocating saw in there, water gloves, different things like that. It's real quick, easy access to get in and out of it. You can patrol your fence lines, you can patrol your borders. There's just all kinds of things that you can do with a quad, and it's a lot easier than a vehicle. One is simply because it's easier just to get in and out of it, but 2, that because this is quite a bit narrower, you can get into a lot of places that you just simply can't with a 4-wheel drive pickup, and or certainly a car for that matter. And you don't want to walk all the time everywhere that you go, or at least I don't. So, and for those that want to know, this basket that's on the front of there, that's a guide gear basket. I think it was around $80, and I haven't had it long enough yet to do a review on it, but it will be coming along with the review of that tool, the storage box / seat, and then the passenger footrests that we looked at. right there, the passenger footrest. And a chainsaw, you know, because you're always looking to cut stuff, and because like here in a minute I'm going to cut this tree down and that tree over there, and you know, they're probably 4 or 5 inches, which is a little bit much for a reciprocating saw. So, you know, you need a chainsaw and then a good pair of loppers. And I've been very happy with this pair of loppers right here. This is a Fisker's lopper, and what I really liked about this is, see that silverish gray piece right there? That's the blade, and that's replaceable. And then it's got some gear cogs in here, and this thing can, you know, basically if you can fit it in there, it can cut through it. They're pretty impressive. And like I said, you know, if they get really dull, or if, you know, you accidentally cut through barbed wire because you're trying to cut something next to a fence and you don't see some old barbed wire laying on the ground, which has happened to me before, and it just takes a big old divot out of there, you can replace that whole cutting part. You know, it's not you know, buggered up for the rest of its life and you have to throw it away. So these were great for, you know, cutting down small saplings, and you know, cutting out the limbs to get in down at the base of a tree. So there's that. And yeah, here are my gloves. I told you I do have gloves, but they're still wet from yesterday, and so you'll understand that at some point if you've never done this kind of work before, that once your gloves get wet, they just don't work quite as well. Okay, so here's kind of the before and after, you know, clearing out area around the fence. And why that's important to you as a homesteader is that when you are trying to keep your animals inside your fence, which obviously you are, to protect them, you really need to clean out a path along your fence line. And if you remember, there was a tree there and there were several trees down there, and you know, there they are right there, all cut up. But now I, you know, come in and I can add my extra runs of barbed wire to it, and I don't have to worry about stuff getting caught up in the fence and trees falling on the fence and different things like that. Yeah, just letting you know what we're doing here on the homestead. And you know, you got to put your hand to the plow and make what you want happen. And you know, wishful thinking and someday I'm going to XYZ, right? A lot of times that just never happens. And you know, as you can see, right, you know, we made a corridor that goes all the way down and around so that we can get in here and we can do the things that we're going to need to do to, one, maintain this fence line in the future, but also right now to add the 3 extra lines of barbed wire so that we can safely have sheep in here without fear of them getting out, and you know, coyotes. All right, and here's another thing that I wanted to talk with you guys about real quick. When you have freshly cut down a tree like this and you've got this stump, right, and it's, you know, the nice light colored wood that's in there, one thing that you can do to keep this stump from coming back is you can take Roundup, or I think there's like an agricultural version of it called Renew, and some different things, but basically it's glyphosate. And you know, I'm not discounting the fact that, you know, it is a poison to our food system and the different things that it's doing possibly to people right now, so please understand that. So the way that you would go about minimizing the impact of that, and what I have found works fairly well for me, is to add the concentrated form of it directly just to the top of that stump. So put it in, like I've got an old Pyrex measuring cup that all the measurements came off, and so, you know, it's just Pyrex, and pour your concentrated Roundup into that, and then dip a paintbrush into it, and then paint just the top of that. And what's going to happen, as long as you do it within the first couple of days after you've cut the tree, is this stump is just going to absorb all of that straight into it, and it'll take it straight into the root system, and it'll kill the whole thing fairly well. Now, if I had another option, right, like if this was out in the middle of a field or something like that, I could just build a fire around it and burn it out, or different things like that I could do to kill it. However, it's right here next to my fence and a wooden fence post, so my options are a little limited. Now, also, you know, full disclosure, eventually the glyphosate that gets absorbed into that root or the stump and its roots, as it dies, it's going to release that into the soil. So obviously, you know, you want to limit that as much as possible so that it's not going into your groundwater and or it possibly, you know, into the water table beneath that. So there's something that I found that works for me. Hopefully that'll help someone else out there as well. And the reason why I've been working on trying to keep this whole area in here open and clear to get down in here is because there's a drainage pipe there, and all of the water from basically my side of the mountain flows down through here. And there's, during times of high rain, like it's been raining for 2 or 3 days, I mean, this thing is just full to the top. And it probably doesn't look like it from here, but that's actually fairly deep. And you know, the honey locust has big old nasty thorns on it, and so it's really hard to get through. And so as you can see right here, you know, all these cut stumps that are all over the place, you know, we're trying to keep it cut down so that we can easily get access to that, because as things you know, get washed down in there and whatnot, we don't want to be backing up the water, possibly causing a flood to our property. And which brings up another thing for new homesteaders, if you're not aware. And whenever you've got you know, a land bridge like this, you look down there, you can see there's a pipe there, and there's another one right next to it, is that you've got to go upstream and make sure that there's no big logs or branches and stuff in there that's going to get washed down and eventually get, you know, lodged in front of your pipe, and that'll cause that to you know, the whole area to back up and flood. It's probably about 10 to 15 feet down there. It may not look like it from the perspective of the camera lens. However, this whole thing, you know, has been full in the past. You know, that 15 feet all the way up, and the water's actually come over the land bridge when we get heavy rains, you know, 50 or 100-year rains like we've had the last 2 years. So that's something else to think about. You got to be aware of the drainage ditches that are around you, and if it's a big, deep drainage ditch, there's a reason why. Here is one of the best investments I think you can make as a homesteader, is get a reciprocating saw. And this particular one is the Cobalt 24-volt brushless line, and I've done a full review, so to speak, of the whole line, but not specifically for the reciprocating saw. But as you can see here, I've got a real aggressive wood cutting blade there, arbor's blade, and the power of this thing is phenomenal. And yes, I have used plenty of other reciprocating saws, and you know, the power that this thing has is really, really nice. I'm very pleasantly surprised by it. And also, you know, the cost of these Cobalts is significantly less right now, because they're a new player to the marketplace, and they're buying market share right now. So something to think about. And then also the batteries that Cobalt has are just as good as the competitors, and they're like half the price. And so, you know, like this 4 amp hour battery is only 50 bucks every day at Lowe's. So something to think about. And like I said, you know, a reciprocating saw like that, there's just so many uses on the homestead. You can cut through metal, you can cut through PVC, copper pipe, you know, light welding projects, you know, you're just trying to cut through it, different things like that, simply by changing out the blade that's in there. And that has, you know, the quick change right there. The blue is the quick change mechanism. And I'm sorry my hands are shaking. I've been working hard and the you know, fine muscle movements are starting to cramp up a little bit. But anyways, guys, I just wanted to share that stuff with you today. That's what we're working on. These are the tools we're using, and some of the tools that are doing a good job for me, and I recommend them. And I hope you are having a wonderful and blessed day. If you have any questions about anything that I mentioned in here, feel free to post your questions below. Thanks, guys. Keep on keeping on. And here's some bonus content for my dedicated subscribers that do actually watch most all of my videos all the way through. And I know it's not many, I get it. I have no delusions of grandeur otherwise, but this is what the auto shelter looks like going into year 4. And you know, the wind and the sun have just ravaged this thing, and you know, that's basically all that's left of it. And so what we're gonna try to do is, using a tarp like this, we're gonna try to re-tarp over the top of this and recreate basically what we had, but just using tarps for now anyways. What I'd like to do is to just put you know, steel building panels like that, put that on here and go with that. But as the old saying goes, put one in one hand and get in the other and see which fills up first.